Hi, this is Charles DiMaggio. Welcome back to R for Epidemiologists. What I'd like to do in this screencast is talk a little bit about using R as a calculator and introduce the three most important operators in the R programming language, which are the assignment operator, the concatenation operator, and the function operator. So, once you've successfully installed R, the first thing you're going to do is start it up. And in a Mac, for example, you'll find it in your applications folder. In a Windows environment, you'll find it somewhere under a program file. I'm going to start up my version of R here on my Mac. And you'll see that the first screen that opens up when you click on the application is the R console screen. The R console is essentially a calculator. And you'll be working right here at the command line. It'll work like any calculator you've ever used. You can do addition and just hit enter to get a result. You can do subtraction, division, multiplication is accomplished with the asterisk. So 5 times 5. And you could string together any kind of operation that you want. So for example, you could do 5 times 5 plus 5. And you get the number 30. Now pay attention to the fact that R uses the order of operations, which you've probably learned in high school. And the order of operations is that expressions in parentheses take precedence over all other expressions. Exponentiation takes precedence over multiplication and division, and multiplication and division take precedence over addition and subtraction. So in this case, what we did, we wrote 5 times 5 plus 5. Essentially, internally, what's happening is that R is kind of placing that multiplication expression in parentheses. So you'll see if we do this, and you'll see here actually one feature of the Mac version of R, it's a nice feature, you get auto-completion of the parentheses. But 5 times 5 plus 5 should return the same answer. But if we were to do 5 times, and now 5 plus 5, clearly we're going to get a different answer like that. Any expression you could write in the R console, you can calculate. So for example, let's say we wanted to convert degrees Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius. What we would do is, let me bring this up here, is we would use a little formula that some folks know. So degrees Celsius are equal to 5/9 times degrees Fahrenheit minus 32. Simple formula. And let's say we wanted to calculate what 68 degrees Fahrenheit is in Celsius. At the command line, we can simply write 5 divided by 9 times, and you see I have to be explicit here, and write the multiplication operator there. And the degree Celsius we're interested in is 68 minus 32. Submit that. We get 20 degrees, and that works out just fine. Now, like any good calculator, R has an assignment or a memory function. And in R, it is the left arrow followed by a dash. And this is the assignment operator. And it allows us to store any number, any operation, any series of numbers, anything really, into some sort of named object. Simplest thing, for example, let's say I wanted to, for whatever reason, let's say I wanted to save this particular calculation, this particular transformation from Fahrenheit to Celsius in an object. I want to recall it for some reason. Well, first thing is, and here's a little trick for using R as a calculator, if you hit the up arrow on your keyboard, you get back the most recent command. Actually, if you continue hitting the up arrow, you get all R sort of like stores them, so you keep on going back. I'm just hitting the up arrow again and again. But let's go back to this particular calculation. If I want to store this as an object for whatever reason, I use the assignment operator. And on the right side of the assignment operator is the thing I want to store. And on the left side of the assignment operator is the name I want to give it, essentially. So I'm storing the results of this operation into an object called y, lowercase y. And now you see you enter that. It doesn't look like anything happened, but really what happened is that R now has stored that operation in the letter y. If I type y, I get back the operation. Notice this, if I type capital Y, I get back an error. Object capital Y not found, because R is case sensitive. As I've mentioned in previous screencasts, R is really very Old Testament, lots of rules, no mercy, and one of those rules is that case matters. The second very important operator I want to introduce is the function operator. And here, fx is standing for any generic function, and a function has a name, and it's followed by parentheses, and there is some sort of argument to that function in the parentheses. So fx, and then x stands for just about anything. So, for example, there is a function called a square root function, and you just type sqrt, that's the name of the function, and then within the square root function in parentheses, right next to it without any spaces, you type the argument. So I want the square root of 64, and hit enter, I get the square root of 64. If, for example, I want to have the, if I want to exponentiate the number 8 to base e, I could use the exponentiation function, exp, put 8 in there, and get that. Notice one thing here. Actually, a function can take the result of another function as an argument. So if I want to exponentiate the square root of 64, see what I'm doing? I'm just sort of nesting it in here. R really doesn't care. Very happy to evaluate that any way you want. Go in the other direction. I want to take the log of the, well, let's not get too crazy on this. Okay, let's take the log of 2980.598. What do I have up there? Yeah, 958. And I should get the answer there. And the third and last most important operator I want to introduce in R is the concatenation operator. And so this is function. And the concatenation operator is simply the letter C, followed by parentheses, by a series of things separated by commas. And concatenation is one of those great words that just means things following each other. And concatenating something means basically taking a series of letters or numbers and storing them together as a single object. So if I want to, for whatever reason, store a series of numbers, let's say the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, into an object so I can recall it and do something else with it, again, like a memory, what I would do is I would have, okay, C, open, close parentheses, and then I would have the number 1 followed by a comma, 2, comma, 3, comma, 4, comma, 5, comma. And I would store it in an object of some kind. And that object can be called any letter I want. Let's call it X in this particular instance. Submit that. And then if I want to use it again, I could just use X there. And for example, if I wanted to divide X by, if I wanted to divide all those numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in turn by the number 2, I would just have X divided by 2. And I was quite happy to do that. If I wanted to store a series of letters, they have to be in quotation marks. So let's have Y. And you notice I'm using using the assignment operator, is the concatenation of letter A, comma, letter B, comma, and the letter C, comma. Enter that. Now let's say I want to divide the object Y by 2. I should get an error of some kind, then I do, because you can't divide letters by numbers. One thing I want to mention before we close out now is probably the most common error, the most initial common error that most folks make is either not using the concatenation operator when it's needed, or not separating the objects inside a concatenation operator by commas.